Broncos country, it is time to blow up this whole tight end room and rebuild it from the ground up. This tight end room for the Broncos is easily the worst in the NFL, as I have been saying since the beginning of this offseason. They completely neglected to address the position in the offseason. The one move in particular that really rubs me the wrong way is drafting Troy Franklin, trading up to draft Troy Franklin in the fourth round when there were starting caliber tight ends on the board that could have significantly helped this unit. And now that move has come back to bite the Denver Broncos in the behind, because when you look at this tight end room, they are doing nothing. Nothing in the run game as blockers and nothing in the receiving game either. Adam Troutman has 2 catches on the year. Greg Dulcich has 5. Lucas Kroll has 4. They are giving you nothing. And yesterday, that was very apparent in the loss to the Chargers, where the run blocking from the tight end position was putrid. Adam Troutman was terrible yesterday. He single-handedly cost the Broncos several big explosive runs because he couldn't hold up his block, and it caused everything to go astray. Then, when you look at some of the other players on this run blocking unit, tight end wise, Nate Atkins, he's fine, but he hasn't been the difference maker that the Denver Broncos need him to be. The Broncos' run game has been subpar this year. Part of it is on running backs, and part of it is on piss poor run blocking, mostly from the tight end position. The Broncos desperately need a tight end in this building who can not only run block, but can also stretch the field vertically. At this point, the Broncos need to cut several of their losses at the tight end position. I think it's time to move on from Greg Dulcich. He's been a healthy scratch the last couple of weeks. I don't understand why he's still taking up a roster spot. Lucas Kroll, we've tried this experiment with him for the last couple of weeks, and it hasn't gone well. And then Adam Troutman, again, he's been freaking awful this year. So the Broncos, first things first, need to get a number 1 tight end in the building who can be a competent run blocker and can stretch the field vertically. And I've got a guy in mind. That's David Njoku of the Cleveland Browns. The Browns are sitting at 1-5 this year. They're not going anywhere as long as Deshaun Watson is still their starting quarterback. As we get closer and closer to the trade deadline, the Browns are probably not going to be winning any more games, and they could look to be sellers at the deadline. And David Njoku could make a lot of sense for this Denver Broncos team. I want to bring in Njoku's stats from this year because he's had a slow start to 2024. Part of it is due to injury. Part of it is due to a lack of on-field chemistry with Deshaun Watson, and Watson just being, quite frankly, god-awful. Njoku has 10 catches for 89 yards this year. Again, he's dealt with knee and ankle problems, but I'm putting a lot of this on Deshaun Watson, and it was a similar problem last year where Njoku had a slow beginning to the year, but once Joe Flacco took over as the Browns' starting quarterback, Njoku broke out. 81 catches for 882 yards and 6 touchdowns on the year. He was Joe Flacco's favorite target in Cleveland once he got there, and I think competent quarterback play was able to unlock the true David Njoku. And prior to that, he's put up decent receiving statistics for a tight end in the years with Baker Mayfield. In fact, this year was actually in 2022. That was Deshaun Watson and mostly Jacoby Brissett. So at this point, 628 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns, the Broncos would definitely take that receiving-wise from their tight end position. It would be a night and day difference from what they're getting right now. And I also think Njoku is a more than competent run blocker. How much would it cost, though, for the Denver Broncos to acquire David Njoku? Njoku doesn't really have too high of a cap hit. The Broncos could manage the finances. They could spread money into future years. He's only 28 years old. He just turned 28, so it's not like the Broncos would be acquiring an aging player here. I think that the Broncos could send a 4th-round pick and maybe a little bit more to the Cleveland Browns for Njoku, and that would be fair compensation. At this point, having a true number 1 tight end would unlock so much in this offense that I think it's definitely worth it for the Broncos to at least think about it. Another move they could make is an in-house move. I think they need to promote Donald Parham from the practice squad. I want to see what he can do at this point. He can't be any worse than what we're getting right now from the tight end position. I don't think he's going to bring you anything in terms of blocking, but he could be that vertical threat that could help stretch the field, and the Broncos could maybe run a few more 2 tight end sets. In theory, if they were to trade for David Njoku, bring up Donald Parham, that's a 2 tight end set that I could at least see being competent in this offense. Right now, Adam Troutman is not getting the job done. Greg Dulcich didn't get the job done, and now he's not even on the field. And Lucas Kroll hasn't gotten the job done either. The Broncos need to get better at the tight end position, and it has to happen now, or else this offense is going to continue to have problems. All right, Broncos country, I am curious. Do you think that a 4th-round pick would be fair compensation to go out and trade for David Njoku? Again, I think that the finances the Broncos could work around. I don't recall off the top of my head how much money he's making. In fact, you know what? Let's go ahead and on the fly look up David Njoku's contract, because I probably should include that here. That's definitely a factor in this. But again, I think they can work around any finances for David Njoku. So just give me 1 second here, guys. Trying to type one-handed. Okay, so he's got a $22 million cap hit in 2025. The Broncos could definitely clear that out a little bit with a contract extension. That would be very viable. Let me go ahead and actually bring in this contract here. Sorry for the informality of this, guys. $9.645 million cap hit this year. Again, Denver could definitely work with that. Cleveland could absorb a little bit of it, and then Denver could rework some of those finances by maybe extending him. That would take care of some of this cap hit. It would take a little bit off the top from there, and then you could push some of that money into future years, kind of like what the Cleveland Browns have done here with all these void years. That's the benefit of having a rich owner in the NFL, because you can do all these cap manipulation tactics. Salary isn't really the issue here with David Njoku. It would be more draft capital, what the Broncos would be willing to give up to get him. So I'm curious, do you guys think that a 4th-round pick would be fair compensation for David Njoku? Do you think the Browns would do it? And do you think that would be a good move for the Broncos? Drop those comments down below, guys. I would love to hear your thoughts, as always. Be sure to leave a like on this video, as well as subscribe and ring the bell so these videos appear in your notification feed. I would really appreciate it, guys. Those are both free and easy ways to show your support. It helps tell YouTube's algorithm to push us out, and it helps us get seen by more and more members of Broncos country just like you and me. Also, use code BS30, link in the description down below, to save $30 off NFL LED team logo signs just like this one behind me. And until next time, guys, I'm your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.